Hi there.
Hi.
How are you doing?
All right, thank you. I can only see
Excellent.
the top of your head, Camilla.
Well, then let me do that. That will
There you
probably
go.
make it. We knew it better. Yes, the top
There
of my
we
head is nice, but it's not really sufficient, is it? Okay. Oh, Helen, brilliant.
The internet, yeah.
There we go.
Hello.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Hi there. I'm good, thanks.
Fantastic.
You're talking to me. Yeah.
I'm
Hi.
definitely talking to you because your face is on the screen at the moment, as it does when people come in to the meeting.
Right. Lovely.
So I was just saying,
Brilliant.
I'm going to mute everybody in a few minutes, but I'll wait till we're all here, if you know what I mean. We've got 17 people at the moment. I think there's probably a few more joining, and then I'll mute people, and as new people come in, I'll mute them without telling them. That's all good. And we're still doing fine. We've got a few minutes before we have to do anything. There we go. Yeah, I've been too efficient. Got people here early, which is lovely, but so who are the two lovely people whose pictures I can see? There's somebody in a hat with a beard and a lady behind him. So who are we looking at?
I can't see.
No, I can't see. Anyway, not to worry.
Lovely evening here.
Sorry?
Lovely evening here.
It is.
Bright.
Whereabouts are you?
Bright light. I'm in Devon, South Devon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a light shining directly through. So it's nice. So it will illuminate.
It's beautiful here too. I've just been out in the garden having a few minutes of fresh air, and it's not pouring with rain. The only problem is all the fruit is falling off my tree.
Exactly.
And I can't get to it fast enough, so the bugs are getting it instead.
Yes, yes. Well, they're having a feast, the wasps, aren't they? They're enjoying.
They are indeed. That's supposed to be good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Apples are cobbling the floor, and it's quite precarious, you know, trying to make your way down the garden.
Indeed.
Stumbling over the apples.
Okay. Oh, lovely. Gradually seeing people turning up, which is really satisfying. So which lolly is that? Is that Lolly Price?
Yeah.
Hello, thank you for joining. How nice of you to come.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just keeping an eye on the time because we're going to start at 7 o'clock. So at the moment, there are people gradually coming into the meeting, and that's perfect that you all came so quickly, because it meant that, oh, there's Jane, that's brilliant. But apologies for the kind of delay that happens at the beginning of these meetings, but it's nice to get people involved sooner rather than later. That's Lorraine. I'm recognizing lots of lovely people here whom I've met before or spoken to.
Hi, Lorraine Sachs.
Hello, Lorraine. Nice to talk to you.
Same here, thanks. A gallery view. Good. I can't always get right. Just must get a handkerchief. I've forgotten.
Yeah. So most people are going to be on mute, and their video will be not showing, but a few of you will be visible. While we're sitting here, I'd like to introduce Kirsten, whom some of you can see on your screen. Kirsten is volunteering with us at the moment. I'm so grateful she's helping me put the anthology together, as well as helping with this evening. And When you're a one-person company, volunteers are absolutely vital. Otherwise, you wonder if you exist. So another volunteer that helps me enormously is Jane Sherwin, who's online. And she has, I think, been to almost every meeting that we've held. And that's a great joy because it means there's someone there I can rely on. Okay, well, I think another 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll kick off. But apologies for this brief delay, but it just helps to get everybody there at the start of something rather than coming in and wondering if your best friend's reading has just finished. And I've had that happen to me, where I've joined a meeting just a few minutes late and you think, damn, have I actually missed everything?
Oh.
And what was horrible was another meeting where somebody came late to one of mine. And in the middle of what I was reading, she came up, she said, oh, tell me I haven't missed everything. I thought, great. Thank you so much. That's really good. Okay. So as well as being muted and video free, if you want to add any comments or questions, there's a chat box at the bottom of your screen. If you move your little mouse arrow down the screen using the mouse, you will see the word chat at the very bottom. And that will enable you to put in comments, and Kirsten will be looking at those. And if there are any questions, she will pass them on to me so we can talk to the writers later. But, well, I think I am going to... Oh, the Anglo-Omani Society. Wow. Fantastic. Right, we've got 23 people. I think let's kick it off. I'm going to mute all, and then I want Rocio, Rachel, and Kirsten to unmute themselves. Go. And I'd like everyone else to put their video off. And you can do that by going down to the bottom left-hand corner of your screen if you're using a laptop or a PC. And that means that you just be your name showing in gallery view. And it helps to have not too many things going on in the background while people are performing. So Amaru, and that's all brilliant. So just, I think we're just about there. Good. Well done, everyone. In the top right-hand corner of your screen, you will see a little kind of set of blocks in a 3x3 arrangement. If you click that, you get gallery view where you can see everybody's pictures. Most of you are now just the names. If you click it, again, you'll see speaker view and you'll see Rocio or one of the other performers in taking up most of the screen and just a few pictures of your other people at the top. Brilliant. Okay, well, I'm going to begin after doing all that by saying welcome to our third Zoom. I'm still struggling with the software. The more functionality they add every week, the more I have to try and keep up. I have this recorded. It won't record people in the audience, only the performers. As I say, we've got Kirsten helping us. She's looking at the chat box. So if you have any questions, feel free to add a question to the chat box. You can either send it to everyone or you can address it to a particular person. So if you see a friend in the audience, you can say hi to them. And I'd like to start by the layout of the evening is that we're going to have Rachel performing, and then we're going to have Rocio performing, and they're going to be reading from these two fabulous books. So this is Harpy. Let me get myself, okay. Let me go back to me. Here is a picture of the book called Harpy by Rachel. And here is a picture of the book called Useless Now, but Beautiful Still. You probably see the writing back to front, by Rocio Rodriguez-Inniss. And it just felt good to have these two wonderful people perform this evening. They're both feminist authors. They're both very interested in the way the magical world walks alongside the daytime world. And it empowers us and scares us, and it makes a lot of extra dimensions to what we do. So I'm going to start by introducing Rachel. Rachel is a stand-up poet and a writer originally from Birmingham, so a Brummie. I got to know her through a number of mutual poetry friends, including Carmina Mosolova, Agnes Meadows, and Frances White. And I first heard her perform from her amazing book, Stand By Your Nan, at Dodo Modern Poets. Rachel was long-listed for the Clipper Award with her first children's poetry collection, which has got this wonderful title, The Strangest Sandwich in the World. And she won a selective scholarship to join the Writing a Novel course at the Faber Academy in 2019. And the result of that is she's just finished her first novel, which is called Amber May, that mirrors themes in all her work, the importance of community and connection. She regularly receives Arts Council funding. I'm really jealous about that. I've not had any success with my funding applications yet. And she tours Stand By Your Nan, which is a set of stories about grandmothers. Her poems have been published in anthologies and in the Shoreline of Infinity magazine, and her work has been heard on BBC Radio. So, Rachel, can I pass the baton to you? Rocio, perhaps if you could mute yourself, then the system won't be looking at you. I hope that's okay.
Okay.
Lovely.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, so it's slightly strange on Zoom that you're never quite sure who you're looking at. So I'm going to stick everything on gallery view and pretend I've got an audience. Yeah, thank you very much, Camilla. I'm very kind of pleased to have a collection like this that's been published. This is the collection here, Harpy. It was actually, it's got such a beautiful picture on the cover. I did not do this. This is Giada, or Jada, I think she's Jade, isn't it? Honey Jade that she has as an artist name, but Giada Catania, who did this, and she's from America, and I'm really pleased with that. Because it's kind of a meshing really of an exploration that I had with the archetype that's missing out of all the archetypes we have. Like after you become the kind of there's the kind of nubile woman, and then there's the mother figure, and then later on you have the old crone, and there's this kind of gap in the archetypes of women, which is the more the high priestess figure that shows up a lot, and it's seen as a witch a lot of the times. And we've had a lot of language has basically kind of redefined the angry woman as somebody who's evil and is going to kill everyone. And so I used the title from a poem that I wrote considering the woman as Harpy. And the first poem I'm going to share with you is actually just a definition of Harpy, and it's a definition from the dictionary, and also a couple of definitions I've added. So this is Harpy. A rapacious monster with a woman's head and body, bird's wings and claws, or depicted as a bird of prey with a woman's face. A grasping, unpleasant woman. an adjective for the sound of angelic harp music, a righteous anger, a personification of storm winds. So that's the title poem. And then there is a subtitle on this as well called I Travel to Disappear, but the disappearance follows me. And I think that is where the personal comes into this. So I've tried to kind of find a way of mythologizing the personal in a lot of stuff I do. So in Stand By Your Nan, it started as a memoir, but then it became more about the stories that surround all of us in our personal histories. And the same for this is I feel like as soon as you start talking about the personal and you put it out there, it then becomes the fictional. It becomes kind of mythical in its own right. So in this poem, it is quite personal. It is about experiences with PTSD, but actually, as soon as I put it into poet form, it doesn't really have the same personal link, if you like. So I hope you find something in it. If you don't, then I'm quite pleased, because that means that you don't resonate with any of these feelings, but maybe you understand that it's an unheard voice. And if you do, then I hug you and and I know how you feel. So this is called Aftermath. There's no name for it that I know, the figures of demons that haunt the shadows so the light stays on, the nights of sitting upright, reading a book to pretend myself to sleep, the sound of a pipe rattling on railings, the far-off scream of a baby. At night he arrives in my room, he's never left. He walks behind me in the day. I wonder if I will see him again, and sometimes I do. Jolted at Euston, in the streets. His sister lives on the next road along. I am all fine and smiles, but the shaking is still there. The stories return. I don't seem to be flashing back like some time travel fantasy. No whooshing and whooping through a vortex. This is real. I am a bad person, always dirty and touched with the stench of it. I am culpable, capable, at fault. I hug my knees and wait till dawn. Try out new men like a shower gel, tangerine scented, not foaming at the mouth. Try to feel scrubbed within, but they in turn desert and destroy. They saw the weakness and headed for it like a moth to a candle. I do not burn their wings, but stay awake in the night. Drink it away with the wine, smoke it into oblivion. I travel to disappear, but the disappearance follows me. I write it out. I tell a new nice boy who stays until he in turn tears the phone out of the wall, pours water over me in the night, chases me round the house, like I have the power to destroy him. I am the vampire and he is the exorcist. I never tell, so others think I am the bad girl. I am a cheat and a drunken lush. Others think I talk too much. They don't see the brick aimed at my head, the food bank I provide him, the ignorance of the work I do. And again, I accept the mantle of the enemy. I cloak myself in dirt and I disappear into the earth. So I have actually been a stand-up comedian for quite a long time, but this collection's got a lot more serious stuff in it. But then it has got ones that aren't, and this is one that I thought you might enjoy. It's actually a kind of a true story. Again, it's a kind of memory that I've adapted, but I hope it bears some resonance again. It's actually about a time I went to a garden centre because I really, really, really want a shed and I never have managed to get one. and it was Shed World, and there were lots of sheds, and in those sheds they had mocked up different kind of scenes. So in one, at the time, was a man cave. Now later on they discovered that this might be a bit misogynist, so they changed it to an all pink Prosecco den for the ladies, but but they had a shed in it with a mannequin from a superstore doing the ironing, and it really struck me that thank you, whoever's laughing, Camilla. We got some audience. Yes, she was doing the ironing, and this really spawned my my ire for this poem. It's called Shed World, Observation at a Garden Centre. The man cave is a porter cabin of testosterone, glorious MDF bar, chemical toilet, cinema. The woman shed has a size 8 mannequin wearing a flowery tabard. No chair, staring straight ahead, doing the ironing, bored. No one told Virginia Woolf her kitchen staff wanted a room of their own, with doors that shut, and the mannequin wants a writer's hut. The one I kind of quite enjoy that one. I enjoy going around Shed World and looking for my writer's hut. I haven't kept that much of an eye on the time. I'll be all right. I've got 2 more. This one is actually, this is quite interesting for people who are older. I'm late 40s, very late 40s now. And I was lucky to be selected for a potential monologue I could get onto the TV, which was very exciting. I was writing about a music festival in Coventry, and this idea came to me of a woman who was older than me, maybe early 50s, who'd kind of encapsulated Godiva in her freedom and in her free-spiritedness. And as I went into the workshop, they put up, now the main thing you need to remember is that your character has to be aged between 16 and 25, 30 at a push. So I immediately realised that I was not going to get anywhere with this, but I really like this character. So this is kind of a voice of another unheard voice, and it's called Sent to Coventry. Scars on my hips that swing into rhythms from ancient lore, Godiva. Silence me with a mission. I do not exist, but naked I come to you, all scars and rolls of flesh, Godiva that I am, dancing through high streets, showing myself up next to blown up cathedrals. I am the Godiva who eats chocolate for breakfast, goddess. Such a diva, swinging her hanging breast with the air horns blasting. Listen to my silence, Godiva that I am. Remembered fields and bare feet in the mud, hands in the air, swinging in prayer to 90s rave. Godiva that I am. Scars on my hips that swing into rhythms from ancient lore. Godiva that I am. And I believe I'm coming up to time. We don't need to keep you on. Zoom's quite intense to watch, isn't it? It's quite weird for me because I'm used to kind of talking to the audience. So I'm just carrying on.
I think we've got time for a few more if you like.
Oh, we've got time for a few more. Okay. Well, I've got one more that I've got in here. And I can always do ones later if you want. So part of doing this, I realised there were resonances with this archetype, this idea of that there's a kind of angry, passionate, maybe almost spiritual kind of energy of a woman that isn't really, and when I say woman, I mean kind of, I don't really mean it's just about being a woman. It's almost like it's about trying to find your own identity, like who am I within this role and who am I outside of that role. But it did make me realise that if you thought of yourself as a kind, you know, we're all on Mother Earth or whatever, the way that we try and control the earth kind of reflected on me as the way that we try and control ourselves all the time as well, and that maybe there's a kind of wildness, and what is better, the kind of the control or the wildness. I'm quite interested in that. So this one is called Concrete. The cracks in the concrete let weeds through, but who deserves to be there more? Weeds or grey mashed sand into rock, green that grows or blocked off pavement, the heartfelt or head spoken, bamboo grown through walls, or bees sting, or rain-soaked skin. The cement is poured over the heads of buds again, but who deserves to be there more? Weeds of buttercup, dancing lions, clocks of seeds. Which wildness is more? An algorithm of plugged up potholes to save your tyres from damage, or the gathering of water into ponds? The survival of the fertile, hard taken, roots pulled up, holes in the scalp like scars, the hair returns, the weeds keep growing. I grow wild as a meadow field, creaking open the surface, cracking through like phoenix rising through broken flame. Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, that was absolutely fabulous. I thoroughly enjoyed, in spite of editing this, to hear it performed live is an enormous thrill. Rachel, thank you.
Thanks very
If there's
much.
time at the end, I hope that you'll do a little bit more. But for now, if you put yourself on mute, Rocio, I'd like to introduce you. And I shall have to read it again because you're both so talented. Okay, so Rocio is a writer, actress, and artist. I'm going to be cheeky and say she's also a lioness. It's something that she has in her personality, and we weren't sure whether to put it in tonight, but I can't resist. I first watched her reading one of her psychological short stories at the Arts Night in an Iranian arts cafe in Kilburn. And I was completely mesmerized. I thought, my God, who is this? And I spoke to her then, and she got back in touch with me later. She said she writes about the duality of things, their darkness and magic, the way normal life can change abruptly to fantasy. She has a debut short play she's written called The Hill, about knife crime, which premiered at Catspace in January 2019. And she's working on Fire in an Empty Space, which is her first full-length play about the intersections between mental and sexual health. And as well as writing plays, she directs, produces, and acts in them. So tonight we're talking about her new pamphlet of short stories, and I have great pleasure in handing over to Rocio. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Camilla. So as Camilla said, I'm Rocio. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm feeling quite nervous. So I've got some notes for what I'm going to say. I've been writing for as long as I can remember. Some of my most vivid memories are of story, whether poetry or prose or theatre, just lives completely in my heart. I'm completely in love with it. And one of the things during this lockdown period that I realised that I missed most was just hearing people's stories, going about their day at work or just on the bus, strangers, the things that you hear. I never imagined that my work would be published. So when Camilla wanted to publish it and said that there was an audience that would want to read it, I was incredibly excited, but also quite afraid, because I hadn't been writing with that purpose. I'd only really begun to share my work with people who weren't family or friends for about a year before Camilla then saw me reading one of my stories. So that was really affirming and special. and the journey that I've gone on with Camilla to produce the pamphlet has also been really special, because she gave me this great gift of time to produce some of what I believe is my best work that is in the pamphlet. So the pamphlet is so personal to me because there are stories in there that I wrote when I was as young as 16. So when I look at it, I can see my journey as a writer and as a person and in my life. It's this physical manifestation of that journey that can be shared with other people. And I'm just so excited and grateful for that. I've always been very aware that my voice as a young mixed race working class woman is not very often heard. And I'm just so proud that the pamphlet, even though those things are always a part of my voice, it's not about those perceived differences. It's just me and what I want to say and what I love. I really hope that you enjoy Useless Now But Beautiful Still, which, as Camilla has shown you, looks like this. I designed the cover as well, which I'm really pleased with. And now I'm going to read from it. I'm going to read the third story, which is titled Winter Coat. Winter Coat. He was a small, hairy man. She would plan her outfits carefully for their dates a day in advance. When she came home, her lips finally dropping from the smile he created in her and removed her clothes, she would find blonde hairs caught amongst the cloth. She had a box covered in shells from a school trip to Clacton-on-Sea when she was 7. When she looked at the shells, she could feel the cold spray of the Atlantic, sand under bare feet, and immense pity for the jellyfish the boys were stabbing with a pointed stick. She carefully pulled the hairs from her clothes and collected them in her little box. Every time they met, she did this, once a week, then twice a week, then a wave of real obsession where they somehow found each other every day. Soon, the little box was too little. She convinced him to take her to the beach. They waited in the morning light for the coach. She felt sick exactly 21 minutes and 36 seconds into the drive. She vomited twice. When they arrived, there was sunlight warming the sign, Clacton-on-Sea. She walked quickly, with purpose, and he followed behind. She walked past deck chairs and the actual beach itself, straight to the pier. She marched along, her boots beating down on the wooden planks. He still followed behind, skipping slightly after every few steps to keep up with her long strides. At the end of the pier was a stall manned by a severely wrinkled woman. The woman sat behind piles of small boxes covered in glued-on shells. She held out her bag, and the old woman, hands tremoring slightly, filled it with boxes. She paid and then turned abruptly and walked back up the pier and to the coach station. The man was sad not to step down onto the shore. On they continued, seeing each other, exploring their minds and bodies. Still she planned her outfits and matched her nails and eyeshadow. Still he was small and hairy. Still she collected the loose curls she brought home with her after being close to him. Summer ended and winter began. His blonde hair started slowly turning brown. His smile that warmed her face began to fade. He was a small, hairy man, yes, but he was happy. And when she was in his presence, his happiness enveloped her. As the days became shorter and the nights longer, that same happiness that had seeped out of him now barely filled his skin. He became empty. And as she had been empty to begin with, they were two vacuous bodies lying next to each other in the cold. A few weeks of this and they were bickering, not loud and explosive, softly, as they walked hand in hand through art galleries. This was somehow worse. Not even in anger did they have passion. Their love was dying, if not already dead. She no longer planned her outfits. He no longer skipped to keep up. He would fall behind and she would have to stop and turn and wait. Then she remembered the hairs, boxes and boxes of blonde curls kept safe by glued-on Clacton shells. She travelled to Clacton-on-Sea again, alone this time. She again walked straight to the stall at the end of the pier. The wrinkled woman did not want to sell her the glue, but she explained that she had something really special that needed protecting. The woman looked her in the eyes for a long time, 4 minutes and 19 seconds. When she was done, she pulled a rusting can from an embroidered pouch and gave it to her. "No charge," she said. At home, sitting on the floor, her crossed legs wrapped around the can of glue, she called him. "Come over," she told him. Quietly, he agreed. 1 hour and 47 minutes later, 17 minutes longer than usual, he arrived. In her room, she had lit several scented candles, sage, sandalwood, a Christmas special, and one unknown because the label had rubbed off. She had planned her outfit. It was red. She lay him down on her bed. She stripped him naked. She sweated lightly from her palms and the back of her neck as she pulled his clothes from his heavy body. She covered him in glue. She covered him in glue, spreading it carefully over him and rubbing it into his skin with her hands. Then she opened the shell-covered boxes and tipped them one by one over his body. The hairs, his hairs, floated down and became stuck where they landed. She emptied box after box until there was only the original one left. She thanked it. It had given her the solution to fix what was broken. Then she tipped it over. The curls, golden from the summer sun, fell onto him. As they fell, a smile, the first smile in days, lifted his mouth. Thank you.
Love that. I really love that story. I'm sorry I let some noise come in the background there, but not to worry. I think
Don't
we
worry.
all totally reveling in that amazing story. It sounds better each time you read it. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Right, well now, Kirsten, I don't know if you're still on mute, but can you tell me, did anyone actually leave any questions in the chat room?
I don't think there's been any in the chat room, but I'm sure people could message some in now if they had any.
Brilliant. I do have a question of my own here. And this basically is, excuse me 1 second, I have it written down. Yes, I'd like to ask both of you how you started writing and performing. Rachel, do you want to talk to us about that first?
Yeah. Well, I've always written. As Rocio said, I was thinking about it the other day. I remember reading really young, and then I just remember writing poems. I just used to write lots all the time. I was never interested in being a poet, though, or writing poetry as a thing. It was always to do with, I only really did it because I wanted to be an actress, and or an actor, I suppose you call it. See how long ago it was? I called myself an actress. And I wrote my own kind of work to be performed. And then I did a drama degree, and then I did temping because I couldn't do anything else. And eventually I did playwriting studies as a master's, and because I wanted to be a playwright. And I've gone a really long way around the houses, because after that, what happened was I just didn't seem to get much work. So I decided, especially when I'd had a baby and I didn't have any time or any focus, that because I was quite good at comedy, I would give stand-up comedy a go, just writing comedy, not actually performing it. And I ended up doing stand-up comedy as my first kind of real, because if you get on stage, you can be on stage for like 5 minutes. Nobody's had to cast you. You can just get up on stage and do some of your own work. And then because of that, I did performance poetry, and, you know, it goes on. That was quite a long time ago now, so I won't keep going. But it was like, yeah, about 20 years ago now. So I've had a lot of life stuff that I've had to juggle, but I've been writing since then. And I just think it takes a long time to learn how to do a narrative properly, or how to really communicate your ideas in a way that you're happy with. So yeah, that's how I got into it, was just by literally, what can I do? Because all I want to do is express myself creatively with words, either spoken or written, really.
No, that's fantastic. Rocio, do you want to share some of your early start with us?
So with writing, I'm not really sure. I'm trying to rack my brains. I remember just this story has suddenly come to me in primary school, winning a competition to write the synopsis for the second of your like favorite film. So if they made your favorite film 2, what would it be about? And getting like a £10 voucher and it being on teletext on the telly. So I've just kind of always written. I'm really lucky that both my parents are creative people and have encouraged me with that. And that's also how I began acting. My mum saw me performing in the Nativity and I looked nervous and took me to acting classes. And from then I just completely fell in love with the whole thing. I've gone on to study drama and acting in various different schools and at university as well. I was lucky enough to be a part of the only, I think it was 2 years that they did a creative writing A-level before scrapping it. But that's quite a few years ago now. But yeah, and doing that A-level, actually, I met this amazing teacher who wrote herself and is working on her own novel and things. And just been encouraged by so many different people to just carry on expressing myself and sharing it with other people.
That's marvellous. Now, I've got a question here from Martin Johns, who's an author of a pamphlet that we produced before. And Martin wanted to know, both of you, starting with Rocio, what writer or writers have influenced your work the most?
I'm absolutely awful with names. Like I said when I was introducing myself, I just kind of, these different stories just live in my head as if I lived them myself. I became quite interested in magical realism when I was doing my Spanish A-level, but I couldn't tell you the name of the author that we were studying because I'm awful like that. So I'll pass on to Rachel.
I'm guessing it was Lorca.
Probably.
Yeah, it's probably Blood Wedding. I've taught drama at that level, and it's usually Blood Wedding. I used to read a lot when I was a kid, and I didn't think I was that influenced by anyone. But actually, to be honest, my dad died recently, and when he put me to bed, instead of reading me stories, he used to read me poetry from the Oxford collection of poetry or something. And he always seemed to be quite keen on me reading it. And so I think the earliest poem or the earliest kind of author that influenced me was T.S. Eliot, but doing Macavity the Mystery Cat, because that was his favourite poem. I just really liked the way he did it as well. He was so good, my dad, at performing and stuff. So I imagine, and since then I do really like T.S. Eliot. I don't know why, because I probably don't really understand it, but I like stuff like Emily Dickinson as well. That was the only thing I liked when I was at university. We did American literature. I really liked Emily Dickinson, and everything else just seemed really rubbish. I couldn't believe that I found out recently she put all her work in she tried to get published, she didn't get published, she put everything in a chest or something, and then it was discovered after a death. I thought, God, that says a lot, really, considering I'm always writing about unheard stories that, probably Emily Dickinson, I imagine, absolutely. But there's a lot of them. And I didn't think there was. I thought I just wrote from my own head, but I don't think I do. I think there probably are people. I think you take in the structure a bit by osmosis without realising it, would be what I would say. But yeah.
Yes, I think there's a lot to say. I mean, I've got some favourite authors, but I'm not sure if they've influenced me or if I've been influenced by everything I've read. You kind of you're part of a culture. And one of the great things about this country is that at least if you're an English speaker, you are allowed to speak English. You're allowed to speak Welsh. You're allowed to speak Hindi and Portuguese and so on. And if you look around the world, which as Palewell Press is interested in human rights, there are places where you aren't allowed to speak your own language, like Kurds are not allowed to speak in Turkey, they're not allowed to speak Kurdish and so on. And I feel enormously lucky that this is where I grew up. My poetry, although it may not be anything particularly earth-shattering, is the language that my mum taught me. And I can share it with other people who know that language, and it feels incredibly fortunate. Well, now, I'd like to say that it would be really great to have another short piece from each of you. Rocio, I haven't prepared you for this, but would you like to read a paragraph or two of one of your stories and leave a kind of feeling in the audience? And then I'll ask Rachel to finish off with some more of her own work.
Let me just, I just need a moment to have a think.
Mm-hmm. Would you like Rachel to go first while you're thinking about that?
I think I'll read the beginning of Useless Now But Beautiful Still, the story that
Fantastic.
the pamphlet is.
Okay.
I am inventing a new world. The black ink from my pen is powerful. With it, I can kill armies of people, build whole cities, then burn them to the ground. Have a woman live her whole life committing sacrifices, losing loves, traveling between continents, fighting to achieve her greatest dream. Then, when she can finally see it, taste it, is so close to opening a wooden chest and having her whole life's meaning come to fruition inside, I can have her open it and find nothing. Claw at the empty space, weep and scream, claw until the chest is filled with blood and broken nails. I am creating a world more graceful than this one, more beautiful. But when your time is over, you do not beg, you do not extend your days with drugs and life support. No one watches someone they love waste away, and no one mourns you when you're gone, because people just leave. That is the nature of my world, and everyone accepts that. Harmonious. There is such beauty in harmony, in the synchronicity of waves or the flaps of a bird's wings. Life and then death are the same. Thunder, then lightning. A bud, then a flower. I have nearly come to the end of my world building. And
Wow.
You'll have to read the story to know.
That's amazing. That's great. That's the first time I've heard that read out loud. That's marvelous. Okay, can we have a little bit more from Rachel, if that's okay?
I was just saying in the chat, somebody said it was Garcia Marquez, not Lorca, probably. Because I was thinking of A-level drama. Anyway, yes, so what do I do? I kind of I don't know whether to leave you with anything that's too harsh. I don't know what to do here. Okay, I'm going to do this one because it's kind of like hopeful, I guess. It's called Push. Pull up your boots, drill down to the underneath. You didn't desert. Oh, excuse me. You didn't survive the blackness to be suckled into death of life. Didn't motherhood like an imposter in cozy sheepskin for a lame-ass poem about lavender. Let rip on the page like a Duomo. Drill down to the underneath. No stopping to age in the mirror. Come on, push. You didn't fight shadows to give up in complacency. Get up out of bed and pick up the pen. Whole new worlds. Who told you to be soft? Get off your knees and start praying to yourself. Put pen to paper and make marks that count. That hovering dagger-filled brim cup rose with no thorns. Push. Ignore those mud boots wading through reeds, bogged down. growl at the quicksand. You did not punch your way out of sunken dreams, past orcs and monstrous rings to wave the white flag at the road to nowhere. Push. Born full of purpose, and now shatter your own illusion. Push these words. Overtake Sisyphus and believe it. Drill down into the underneath. Discover yourself there. Push.
Wow. That is such a brilliant answer to the piece that Rocio read. I'm terribly pleased to be publishing you both. Now, there's something I've forgotten to do, so I'm going to do it now. If anybody wants to buy the books, they can find them on my website, but I'm going to put a link into the chat now. If you would wait just 1 minute. Okay, it says you can't do that because if you minimize it, the recording will get into a tiz. So what I'll do is from my PC, from my phone. Sorry to keep you all waiting, but I want you to see these gorgeous books. And here we are.
Camilla, can I just say a big thank you to Rocio for her stories, because I've not heard them before and I think they're brilliant. So well done.
No,
They are
thank you,
definitely
Rachel.
good.
Thank you to you too. I love your poetry.
Thanks. You don't
Yeah.
have to say that just because I did, by the way.
No,
But I just
I
wanted
mean
to
it.
say something because it's fabulous hearing you, and I hope we meet again on some kind
Yeah,
of
definitely.
spoken word circuit at some point.
Yes, I have to say that both of you have independently said that to me about how great it is that you're performing the same thing, which is fantastic. So I'm going to try. Yes?
I have a question. Can one get the books in the US?
Can you get the books what?
In the US.
Yes, you can get the books in the US, but you have to order them from me.
Through your website, right?
Yes.
I get your email.
Because
so.
in the UK, they're only going to be available on Amazon Direct Seller, which is a UK thing.
Okay.
In the US, they're available through me. And they're available through me as well here. I haven't signed up to Amazon Direct in the US because it would mean shipping all my stock over there and on the off chance somebody wanted to buy it.
Right.
But yes, that's definitely possible. And you in the US yourself?
Yes, I'm in Santa Barbara.
Oh, hi there.
Hi.
So basically, if you can't get hold of them from my website, if anything happens, just email me directly, which is inquiries, ENQUIRIES, 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 at palewellpress.co.uk.
Okay.
But you should be able to get them. If you just type in Palewell Press, it should find where you're going.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay. So I'm still struggling with this phone of mine. Just give me 1 more minute if you wouldn't mind. Okay. Don't you just love it when something is as simple as knowing your own website address? Kirsten, could you help me? Could you type in the website address for people into the chat?
There you go, that's it done for you.
That's great. And what I want to do is I'm going to click on the, it's not playing ball because it's doing it on a phone. It's a particular way of getting each of these books, but if you actually go to the website, you'll find them very near the top. We've got all our books organized in groups, and there's human rights, the environment, mental and physical challenges that people have, and this is where these 2 books come, and history, personal history. And so if you can have a look at the mental and physical health issues, you'll find these are the first 2 books in there. And if you click, you'll be able to order them next to the image of the book. And I will be thrilled because I love selling. So here they both are again. And I would like to thank both the readers and Kirsten very, very much for this evening, and all of you for coming, and wish you a very good night. And that's all. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. Oh, that's a point. Yep. Hang on a minute. Let me unmute everybody. There we go. Please feel free to clap, and let's give people a big thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, everyone. Thank you. Good night.
Really, really nice.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fabulous.